Welcome everybody to the Scholars Dental NDEB orientation, or also how to become a licensed dentist in Canada for internationally trained dentists. I'm Dr. Ahmed Hafez. I'm the founder and academic director at Scholars Dental. And what's what we want to do today is discuss the NDEB process in somewhat detail, and give you guys some guidance and starting points. So we'll start off with the few slides I have, and then once we're done with the slides, we will go into a Q&A and answer your questions. Just know that the session is recorded, so I'll be starting sharing my screen. Okay. Alrighty, I'm gonna do that. Okay, do you guys see the slides? Now try not to ideally ask the questions during the live, just because sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get to everybody's question. I might miss one. So it's better if you note it down and wait until the end. And that way I could make sure I get all your questions, okay? All right, so let me see how, not that one, this one. Okay, so NDEB exam orientation, how to become a dentist in Canada. Of course, this is for internationally trained dentists. So you're already a dentist, you're already graduated somewhere, and you want to come to Canada and practice as a dentist in Canada. This is not how to become a dentist kind of from scratch in Canada, okay, just to make sure there's no confusion here for anyone attending. So here are the topics we're going to go. This is just the stuff I want to get through today so that you guys understand what we're going to do. So first, we're going to discuss how does an ITD, an internationally trained dentist, become a licensed dentist or licensed to work as a dentist in Canada. And we're going to discuss the different pathways. Okay, what are the most common pathways? There's more than one way to get to that goal. Okay, some common and some rare ways. All right. Also, then we're going to talk about the common challenges that ITDs face in this process. Okay. And then we're going to talk about the starting step, which is the NDEB application. We're going to go through some important dates and some timeline just to kind of get an idea of how it looks like, what to expect. And then I'll give you a summary where to start, okay? The main starting points. All right? Okay. So let's go to the next slide. Now, just before we go into this event, the details of this event, I just want to mention that we do have two upcoming events as well. One that is relatable to you very much, which is the AFK orientation, how to prepare. So anyone that is doing the NDEB orientation, it'll be useful for you to also attend the AFK orientation to understand what to expect, right? That's on August 2nd. So, in about a month and a bit, okay? The one that is actually coming up a bit sooner on July 12th, it's also a good, it's a event that is useful for the AFK. Maybe a little bit too soon for you, but if you want to see what kind of style of teaching we have, you want to actually learn something related to the AFK and kind of just dip your toes in it a bit. We have a AFK Pharma review event coming up in July. Okay, we will be reviewing pharma. The purpose of this event is to actually help anyone going to the AFK exam in August. So we want to kind of help them, just review before their exam. If they haven't taken or they're not taking a course, some people still need that help, okay? Because pharmacology, I know, is one of those difficult subjects, right? So it's just something that if someone hasn't taken our course and is going to the exam, at least they get some of that help. Okay? All right, so back to this. Let's talk about how to become a licensed dentist in Canada. So the step to actually get your license is to apply to the Provincial Dental Regulatory Authority. Okay? The Provincial Dental Regulatory Authority. So the dental authority that regulates licensed dentists, there's one in each province. Okay, each province has one of these authorities. Okay, for example, in Ontario, right, it's called the RCDSO. In another province, it'll be different letters. Okay, but it all kind of comes down to college, dentistry, surgeons, dentists, and province name. Okay, so the final step, that's who gives you the license. Now, in order to get your license and apply for that, they're gonna need some documents. What documents do they want? They want an NDEB certificate. They want the English, an English test if needed, and some other university papers. So this NDEB certificate is really where all your work is going towards, right? We need to get, so the institute or the authority that gives the license is not the same authority that tests your knowledge. Okay, they're two different organizations, right? This one is responsible for regulating dentists, making sure dentists are practicing properly, they're updated. The NDEB is responsible to make sure that you know the foundational knowledge before you become a dentist. Okay? Before you could even apply for a license. So these are just some examples in other provinces, like for example, the licensing body in British Columbia is College of Dental Surgeons of British Columbia. Right? In Alberta, it's called Alberta Dental Association and College. Okay? So your goal is to get that NDEB certificate in order for you to even apply for your license. Right? This is how the NDEB certificate looks like. Right? So you'll have your name there, and it'll say which university you graduated from originally. But once you have this NDEB certificate, then you could apply for your license. Okay, so the question is now, how do we get the NDEB certificate? What is the process in place? So to get the NDEB certificate, you have to pass the OSCE exam. Okay? We have to pass the OSCE exam. Doesn't matter what that exam is. I don't want to go into that detail, but basically you need to pass the OSCE exam. This is the board exam. Okay? The final exam to get your NDEB certificate. So everybody that wants to get their NDEB certificate has to do this exam, whether you're a graduate from another country or a graduate in Canada. You have to do this exam. So who's allowed to take this exam? The people allowed to take the exam must be graduates of an accredited dental program, right? Which means if you have graduated from a Canadian dental school or an American dental school or Australian or New Zealand or Ireland, you are allowed to come to Canada and do the OSCE. And if you pass, you get your NDEB certificate. Simple, right? So what about if you're a graduate from another school that are not one of these 5 schools? Then you are called graduate from a non-accredited dental program. Okay? And in order for you to do the OSCE, before you're allowed to do the OSCE, you need to do what we call the NDEB equivalency process. Okay? So the NDEB equivalency. Okay, hopefully that, made sense to you. So if you're a non-accredited graduate, if you're a graduate from a dental school that's not on this list, then you have to do the NDEB equivalency process before you're allowed to take the OSCE to get your NDEB certificate. Okay, so again, if we ask the question, who could take the OSCE exam? It's 2 categories. Someone that is a graduate of an accredited dental program, or someone that is a graduate of a non-accredited dental program but has completed the NDEB equivalency process and passed their exams. So that's where we want to dive into, right? So the non-accredited dental program graduates, like if you're a graduate from any other country from the ones on the list, right? Here is the pathways you could take to get to that final license. Okay? And remember, before getting that, to get the certificate, you have to do the OSCE. So you can see everybody has to take the OSCE at the end. So the NDEB has created this pathway for internationally trained dentists. It's the NDEB equivalency process, right? Which we refer to the direct pathway. Now, what you have to do, here are the steps. First, you have to get your NDEB approval. Okay, so that means you have to open an account with the NDEB, send documents to them so that they could verify it and make sure, okay, this person is an actual internationally trained dentist that graduated from a dental program from somewhere in the world. So they want to make sure that that's accurate, right? That you're an actual dentist. So that's called the NDEB approval. Now, once you're approved, you're allowed now to start applying for the first exam. The first exam is the AFK, the Assessment of Fundamental Knowledge. If you pass that exam, then you could move to the next step, pass the ACJ, which is another exam, then do the NDECC examinations, which are the more clinical, clinical and practical. Once you finish that, these are 1, 2, 3. Now you have done your equivalency process. At this point, they consider you kind of like equal to the accredited graduate. Now you're allowed to take your OSCE. Then you could, if you pass, you get your certificate. Then you could get your license. Okay? So this is referred to the direct pathway because it avoids going to university. It's more directly just exams. Okay? Now, the other pathway to getting your license in Canada is going to a Canadian university. So, some dental universities in Canada have open seats for internationally trained dentists. And they have created, kind of a shortcut program to complete the dental school here, right? Usually it's a 2-year program, sometimes a 3-year, depending on the school. So those universities, what they want from you is they want the ADAT exam. Now, the ADAT exam is an American exam. Doesn't mean you have to go to the US to do it. You could still do it from Canada, but it's just to know that it's a US exam. So that means you have to now apply for whoever runs that exam, right? The ADA approval. Okay? So the American Dental Association. Okay? Okay, so that means the other pathway, you want to take you go and you apply to the American Dental Association. You get approval, you get a dent pin, you get approved by them. Once you get approved, you're allowed to apply to the ADAT. You take the ADAT. Once you get the ADAT, you have a score. Then you could use that to apply to Canadian universities. Then you graduate from the Canadian university. Then once you graduate, you're allowed to do the OSCE. You pass the OSCE, then you can get your certificate. Then you could go for your license. Okay? All right. So now you could see I have an arrow here, meaning that, the Canadian universities before used to take the AFK exam, not the ADAT. However, there has been a switch. So most Canadian universities now take ADAT. However, there might be 1 or 2 that are still taking the AFK. We would have to check which one specifically. Each university has requirements that you have to look into before applying. It's not standardized where you just have one set of thing and you send it to all of them. Each of them has different dates, different requirements. Some will require a skills test. Some require interviews. Some require... Each university has its own process. So you have to look into each one. if you want to apply to all of them, right? And see when is the due date. What do they want from me? And most of them now are or all of them will require some exam, like an examination. Most of them are asking for ADAT. There might be one or two still okay with the AFK. All right. So pretty much what we recommend to most is that let me just check something here. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So what we recommend is that most international trained dentists, when they're going on this journey, to go for both of these in the start. The reason is ADAT is not that far from AFK. So if you're doing the AFK, you kind of covered 80% of ADAT anyway. So it's probably worth it to study that extra 20% and take the ADAT exam. That way you have both pathways open. And in case, you can't make it through one of them, then at least you have the second one already you've started, you're not starting all over. So we recommend usually the ideal thing would be to open both pathways. Now, if someone says to me, hey, I'm sure I don't want to do, this or that, or I'm sure I don't want the ADAT, or I'm sure, then that's different. I would say, okay, fine. You put that as a, delay it. But ideally, it's the most efficient way to do both and then try to make progress in which one you prefer. But that way, at least you've already started with both and you don't have to restudy again to do the theory, right? So these are the two most common pathways, the university pathway and the direct pathway. Now, there are two other kind of things you could do. And again, if you do book a consultation, we go in more detail about your goals and we create a chart that is specific to you and your timeline. So if you are interested in doing that and you want more information about this stuff, please book an online consultation and our team members will get to you and help you through figuring out what is best for you, okay? So, however, these are the rare pathways. I'm not going to talk about them in detail. So you could, since you're ADA approved, take the IMBDE exam, which is the American, exam, but it's more like the AFK for the US, okay? When you take the IMBDE, you're allowed to apply to the US universities. They also have seats for internationally trained dentists. Then, if you end up, completing and graduating, so now you're a graduate from a US dental school, which means you're kind of accredited, right? So you're accredited at this point because you graduate from a dental school in the US. So you could come back and take the OSCE, then get your certificate and license. So that is another pathway. Or you could practice in the US if that was your goal to begin with. And then there's one more thing where it's a specialty pathway. So if you're a specialist and you could get into a specialty international program in one of the schools. So some schools will have seats, like let's say, one of the dental schools may have one seat for an orthodontist that's internationally trained. So they would want you to have ADAT actually. So you have to take the ADAT for that. Again, that's, I would say, high risk, maybe not the ideal scenario or pathway to open. The more common pathways is you want to make sure you open both of these, and you could still kind of open the other ones too, but focus on the first two, okay? So again, I'm not going to go into detail of those. We'll go into detail in your consult to learn more about what your goals are, and we could plan that out. All right, so that is the different pathways for getting your license in Canada, okay? So just to review, internationally trained dentist, you could either, if you're from an accredited dental program, you could go directly to OSCE. Is anyone here from an accredited dental program? If you're here if you've graduated from one of those countries we mentioned, then you don't need to worry about the whole equivalency process, okay? However, if you're from a non-accredited dental program, then you do need to go through the equivalency process before your OSCE. Just to kind of give you an idea, the accredited dental programs, usually what they go through is 4 years of undergrad. Then they go into dental school and do 4 years of dental school. Okay, so People from accredited dental programs have already gone through 8 years of school to get to the NDEB certificate. Usually, international trained dentists that are not from accredited programs, like most programs I see are 5 years right after high school, right? So it's we've done maybe 5 years of university education, and if you add the NDEB process, maybe that's 3 years. So it kind of balances out. So it's the same time spent, So don't feel discouraged about the process. It's fair in that way where you're putting in the same time that an accredited dental program graduate has put. They've put 8 years of education at least, and we've put 5 maybe back home and maybe an additional 3 here. But, we might end up actually paying less overall than going through 8 years of schooling, right? in Canada or one of these programs. So that's the accredited dental program. That's how their schooling is. So for non-accredited dental program, you'll go through an application process. You're going to do an exam, some theoretical tests. Then you choose between university or continue through the exams, and then you get to the virtual OSCE. So I'm saying the same thing, just in a different way, so it really gets to you, so that you really understand what the steps are. Okay? So then, this means, if we break it down, NDEB application, AFK exam, ACJ, NDECC, OSCE. This is the direct pathway. ADA application, ADAT exam, university, you become accredited, then OSCE. These are the 2 pathways. All right? So if you want to summarize it and combine it, the first step is an application step. We recommend you start applying and getting NDEB approved and apply to the ADA. Why not? It's easier actually to apply to the ADA. So do both. Take both exams, AFK and ADAT. That way you have both options open. And then from there you could kind of see which one is kind of working out more. Now, to give you some information about timelines and cost, so the direct pathway, which is the pathway that doesn't involve university, you want to expect at least 3 years. Okay? At least 3 years. So when we draw your timeline in your consult, and of course, if you're someone taking this seriously, I recommend booking a consult. So one of our experts get in touch and talk to you about your process, and eventually we'll get into a consult together and plan it out and fine tune it. But every time we draw a timeline, it's going to be minimum, you're going to see it's going to be 3 years. Maybe if it's super speedy, 2.5, but put 3 years minimum, okay? At least. The cost could be anywhere from 50, you could get to 40 to 80,000. And the majority of that cost is in the NDECC. So it's not distributed evenly. So it's not expensive to start. Like if you look at AFK and ACJ all together with ADAT, you could budget around, 15,000 for, courses, exams. But most of that cost is going to be in NDECC. NDECC is the most expensive exam. Plus, you have to buy all your instruments and equipment, and you have to. You also have to buy teeth. The courses are more expensive to run. So NDECC is where the bulk of it is. However, by the time you get to NDECC, hopefully you're feeling a lot of encouragement that you passed your first 2. You're very close to that step where once you finish the process, you could make this all back in less than a year as a dentist. So the idea here is don't look at it as, it might look expensive, but it's actually from the goal perspective, like if you actually get licensed and everything, it's easy to make back. That's the investment that you're putting in forward, but then for hopefully a good goal, right, that you're planning. So keep that in mind. This is the overall budget and cost. Again, it's not something you have to have already because it doesn't start that way, right? It starts a little bit easier. Even 15,000, you're starting only with AFK, so it's going to be less, and you take it step by step, right? And we'll talk about some financial support coming up soon. Now, in the university pathway, you want to look at 4 years at least, and it'll cost you a lot more because now you're paying for the university. So why does it go to 4 years? Because some people think, well, university, they say it's a shortcut and it's a 2-year program. Okay, sure, it's a 2-year program, but a lot of international trained dentists forget to calculate all the things that happen before that, you know? So taking the AFK and ADAT, for example, most people will be that. That at least is going to take you, you know, a year just to plan out, you know, applying to the exams, preparing for the exams, getting the scores you want. Then applying to the university. Usually you're applying to the university like 7 months before, you know, and you're waiting for the due date, and then you're getting called for an interview, then you're waiting again, and then you start your program in a few months. That might take another year, right, just to do. So keep in mind that, like, yeah, it's 2 year in the university, so you enter year 3 and 4, and then graduate. But all the things leading up for you getting accepted might take 2 years. So that's why I say the university actually is a little bit longer. So it'll be 4 years to get to complete. However, the NDEB direct pathway could be longer if you fail every exam twice, right? And ending up, you know, delaying your process to more time. That's why the most efficient and financially, let's say, healthy approach is the direct pathway, but making sure you try to pass on your first attempt every time, which means making sure you're taking courses, you're being prepared, you're going to the exam ready, versus you know, you don't want to prolong it more, because the faster you become a dentist and licensed, the faster you could make that investment back, right? So this is the summary of cost and time of this programs, okay? What we have at Scholars is we have actually an ADAT bridge course. So this makes it more efficient for our students. So when they take the AFK course, they don't have to repeat most of that knowledge. We already take that into consideration, that they studied the AFK, so they have 80%. So what we do is we give them like a bridging 2 months course, which is only the new stuff that they need to know for ADAT, which also is more cost friendly and that way more efficient for you. And then you're ready for ADAT. And if you everybody that took our AFK course has passed the IMBDE. So the AFK is the most difficult exam out of these 3. So if you're preparing for AFK, you're like very close to you're ready for IMBDE. Maybe ADAT, you just need a little bit more support in biostat and just kind of like some mocks, and then you'll be ready as well. Okay. Our ADAT bridge course extends from Feb to August because that's when the ADAT exam happened. Okay. So our AFK and ACJ are both online, and our ADAT is online. All our theory is online. So we believe that is the best way to deliver the course, because we're committed to creating the best designed courses. And we believe that online delivery is the best design for these courses. It's given you flexibility, efficiency, more productivity for you, and it's been proven to work. So that's why, and we've taught many students from all over the world. Sorry, I don't, you know, many internationally trained dentists all over the world, but they're students in the school, and they have passed doing this technique. And I'll show you a strategy that you could do before even coming to Canada. Okay. So that is it for the timeline. Oh, sorry, for the pathways. Okay. The next part, we're going to talk about some challenges that dentists could face. Okay. So what are some challenges that dentists could face in this process? Now, these are just a few. Of course, you might find, you know, more detailed challenges, but I'm giving you like the 4 big categories. Knowledge, financial, having time, and distance. Now, some of these have been kind of eliminated with our course design. However, let's go through them. So from a knowledge point of view, this is why it's important to take courses for this process. If you go in risking it on your own, just remember that the AFK, you only have 3 attempts. If you fail them, it's game over. And you don't want to plan to get to your second attempt. You don't want that stress. It'll make your attempts even riskier because now you're going in with a lot of stress. You pass from your first attempt. So we have those courses designed in a way that is flexible and efficient for any scenario. You know, we have people that are working full time that are taking the courses. We have people that are, stay-at-home parents that are taking care of their families, and we have people studying full time. So, and we have different programs for each type of person. So once you book a consult and we go through your scenario, we'll recommend which one is the right one for you, and how to plan forward. Our next course is coming up in August for AFK. That's the essential course, which is 6 months. But we also have a mastery course, which is 9 months for people with busy schedules. And that's been working out very great for them, okay? So just know from a knowledge point of view, do not do this process without courses. I haven't seen anyone pass this entire process without at least taking a few courses, okay? So knowledge is solved by taking courses. Now, the next step is the financial. This is where sometimes a lot of people not everybody. Some people already have planned and saved up, and some people might find this difficult, especially with the conversion rates and stuff, right? So you could contact us, and we could help you in a consult to kind of guide you where to go to get help. But there are institutes that provide loans for internationally trained dentists, and it could go up to 100,000. And they know the process, and they know what you're going through. So they understand the steps, and they'll provide, they know the NDEB process, AFK, ACD, they're familiar with this language, and each step they'll provide you with a loan. Of course, there are some details, like you have to be in Canada, you have to have a PR, so contact us and we'll set you up with the right people. The other thing that we do, that Scholars does, is we have very flexible and convenient payment plans. Right? So we will try to make it work for you as well. So whether it's monthly payment plans or a down payment, then split it up different. Like our team will figure out a way to help you make it affordable. So from a financial point of view, yes, there is an investment from your end, but just know that there are institutes that are helping, financial institutes. We help with the payment plans. And if you're back home, you won't qualify for loans, but maybe you're working full time, and with that process, you're being able to kind of figure out or afford it, right? So that's the financial part. That could be a challenge. Some people do come to Canada, work full time, then plan it that way. Everybody has a unique case, so that's why it's best to, in the consult, to discuss how we could solve your specific issue. Now, moving to Canada sometimes is the expensive issue, right? So if you are back home, someone was asking about this in the chat, but this is a strategy you could do. You could complete AFK and ACJ while you're back home, before even coming to Canada. Because we have a very well-designed online program that's comprehensive, you could do this. So we ship the books to you. We will, that's included in the price of the program. You will have video access, so it's flexible. You will have live sessions, so you only have to, plan your schedule to attend the live sessions. But we keep it minimal, but as needed, so it's going to be like once a week. Anyway, we have a very well-designed program for flexibility and efficiency, and it's proven to work. So it's effective. Okay, so if you're, let's say, in India or you're in Syria, you could do your AFK, study your AFK. You come on a visitor visa, do your exam, go back. Right? Then you do the same thing with ACJ. Come on a visit, do the exam, go back. That's if you're outside of Canada. If you're in Canada, it's easier for you to do that. Like, you don't need to do all that. But if I'm just saying, if you are not here yet, you could already get started in the process. However, it's ideal to move to Canada when you are getting to NDECC, because you want to actually practice in person, ideally. We do have some students in like in Dubai and stuff that are doing this, and they're right now in their ACJ and they're already planning for their NDECC. But ideally for NDECC, you want to be here. So the third challenge that dentists may face is time. This is maybe more on the for people that have graduated a long time ago and started a family and have more responsibility, right? They have less time. People that are maybe fresh graduates might have more time, right? So you need to know how much time you actually have. And that's something we really dig deep into in your consult, because it will depend on how we plan out your strategy, your timeline, how long it might take you to do the AFK, right? It's not a cookie cutter system. We can't just say, oh, everybody, here's everybody needs the same formula. No, you don't have the same time someone else has in one day. So we have to be realistic with that, and you have to be realistic with that. You're not competing with them in that way, right? You don't want to be like, oh, they did it in 3 months, I want to do it in 3 months too. No, or they did it. You have to plan it out based on your schedule, right? Excuse me. So that's why we dig deep into this in your consult. So please book the consult if you want to know more about this. But let's say you cannot attend classes, obviously. That's why you need flexibility. That's why our uniquely designed courses are online, but they combine live and high quality videos and quizzes, and you get physical books. So, and we have online mock exams. So everything is included in a way where it's flexible. So we have the flexibility. If that way you could pause the lectures if you need, and it's efficient. We do have 2 programs for AFK, Essential and Mastery. So depending on your time as well. If you're waiting for approval, right, you could even get the books early to start reading them and then getting to the course. So if you want to take the 6 months course but want the books early, you could do that, which could make your studying kind of 9 months, but you're actually taking a 6 months course. If you're working full-time or part-time, that will be a factor we have to take in consideration. If you have family responsibilities, right? So we usually look at it as type 1 and type 2. And so type 1, we say, okay, this person just graduated, has no responsibilities, right? Like no family responsibilities, and they could study full time, so they don't have to work. So with this person, we would say, okay, the essential should be good for you, right? Unless you're not learning fast enough, but the essential should be fine for you. Now you have the other side of the coin, which is someone that graduated a long time ago. You know, they have a lot of family responsibilities, like their busy schedule, and they have to work. They cannot study full time. Then I would recommend the mastery course for you, right? So, and then there's people in between, and I've seen a lot of unique plans for different people that, okay, I'm working now, but I'm going to be quitting in a few months. Okay, then let's plan it this way. So again, book the consult so you can get a more customized plan for you. But all these have to be taken into consideration, and time might be the most challenging part of this. Distance, I don't think is not even an issue anymore. We got you covered because we deliver the course online, and we believe, of course, the design of it online is better than in class for you, okay? Now, of course, if you haven't figured out a way to come to Canada and immigrate, that's a whole different story. You have to try to get that done. But remember, you don't have to actually get that all done during AFK and ACA. You just need it at the later stages at least, but start the process. Okay. Okay, so please contact the admin team. We have a WhatsApp, and you could probably book it through there. Okay. I'll help you with that after, no problem. Okay, so again, the free consult will help you with all this stuff. Okay, so now we know the 2 paths. We said there's the direct pathway. We already said that, this one, and the university pathway. And they both, it's good to get this part done for both. Apply to both and try to do both exams. So with the AFK, when you apply and you're doing now AFK, why not just do the IMBDE and the ADAT? That's another strategy. Just do all the 3 major theory exams at once, close together, because you're going to be, your strongest theory knowledge is going to be right after AFK. ADAT will open the Canadian universities. IMBDE will open the US universities. AFK opens direct pathway. Now you have options. Okay. Okay, so your first step is to apply to the NDEB, plan your immigration at the same time, and then plan your AFK preparation with ADAT. You don't need to worry about anything after that right now. Okay, everything will come, when the time is right. So let's start with the first step, NDEB application. So we're going to talk about the NDEB application a bit. So do this ASAP. There's no reason to delay this. If you haven't applied, and this is a serious thing you want to do, even if you're considering the NDEB process like 50-50, just do this. Have it done. Because when you decide to do it, you have no idea all the problems that could happen that will delay your life and your process, right? If you're planning to do the exam in the next 6 months, you're already late if you haven't done this, you see? So, already try to get this done. It's always good to get it done early. It does not expire. Some people have this fear like, oh, what if it expires? Doesn't expire, okay? Get approved by the NDEB. And it's actually easier to do this if you're back home because you could actually go to your university and get your documents. If you're already here, there's some things that you need directly from the university. So if you're here, then you might need to get someone to help you out there. Unless your university is really good at communicating. Hopefully it is. But if it isn't, you might need to have a family or a friend that will go and help you with the documents. Okay. So what's required in the NDEB application? So question is, do we need to be approved for the Scholars AFK course? No. So we have people taking the AFK course even before they get approved because they're planning forward. And we sometimes put that in the plan. So for example, you might, if you have an exam coming up later, but you're planning your exam a year from now, some people start their course while they're waiting for their approval, or they start the course to begin their preparation early, and they want to. Anyway, what I'm saying is you don't need approval for the courses, right? You just need approval for the actual exam. Whether you need to take the course early before approval or after, usually you should take it before because you don't want to be late. You don't want to be unprepared for the exam. However, that's going to come down to your own unique situation. We'll talk about in your consult. Okay. So the NDEB application is like this. Make an account, right? So you go to the NDEB website, you find where you want to make an account, you make an account. There is a fee to open an account. You put in your info, you put in your notarized ID, make an account. That's the first step. Just do that. Then they're going to give you a list of documents they want in that account. So usually it looks like these. So you have dental degree. They need a notarized copy and a translation if it's not in English. They want your MARC transcripts, a translated copy. They want MARC transcripts that are sealed directly from the university. They want confirmation degree also. We'll talk about that. If you worked anywhere, they want a good standing from those countries. And some countries may require extra documents. There is like internships. So there is a page on the NDEB website where it shows you what kind of documents you need from your country. No. So there's a question. It's a good question. So can the NDEB application be rejected if I graduated a long time ago or haven't practiced? They don't care about your experience. Just know this. There's no value in your experience when it comes to the NDEB. Okay, some people sometimes come and say, I've been practicing for 10 years, I should get approved. No, they don't care. The approval has nothing to do with your experience. The approval only matters with objective documents. Did you graduate? Whether it's yesterday or 10 years ago, did you graduate? That's it. Give me that document. That's all they care about. The exams are going to prove your knowledge, right? The approval just means, are you a dentist or not? Okay? It's not a subjective, approval process. It's objective. Do you have these documents? Good, done. You're approved. Okay? So, no problem. You're welcome. Okay, so good. So just to give you an idea of what a notarized copy and translation, just sometimes this could be, a rookie mistake if you're not doing this stuff regularly. But this is your original degree. So you want to get it notarized, meaning you need a photocopy and kind of like a sticker or a stamp that says this stamp or sticker means someone licensed, maybe it's a lawyer, says this photocopy is the exact same as this and has not been altered. Okay? That's called a notarized copy. Now, I did mine in Canada because I found that was the safest way. I had my original. I also did them back home, but I was worried and there's some things so I just ended up doing it all here. So you could go to a notary public, give them the original. They will take it, photocopy it themselves, put the sticker on it, and this is called a notarized copy. Done. Okay? As long as it's a Canadian licensed person, you could try. I can't tell you for sure. I haven't heard of the online one, but I think as long as it's approved, like a Canadian approved licensed notary public or lawyer. So if you're in a different country, you might have to go to the embassy, do it there. If there is a new online service with this, new digital world, that would be great. Maybe there is. So that's fine. You could try it. But you have to send all these in mail. Okay? Now, another thing here is this is a copy of the degree. So let's say you took this degree and you made a photocopy of it. And then you got a sworn translator. Let's say your degree is in a different language. And you translate it to English, right? So this is called translation. Okay? So your dental degree translation, which is this, that's one document. You can't send this only. You have to send a notarized copy that's separate and the translation. Okay? So just keep that in mind because I've heard of this mistake before. So again, right? This is not notarized copy. Okay, this is all called the translation document. And this is called, so you're kind of, let's think of it like this. For the degree, you're sending three papers of them. One that's a notarized copy, one is the original, like the copy of it, and then one is the translation. So this whole thing is called translation copy document. And then you need a separate document as a notarized document. Okay, just keep that in mind. You can't cut shortcuts and go, oh, the translation already has the degree in it. Isn't that enough for you guys? No. Because maybe it's different departments. Someone is doing the translation verifying. Someone wants to do the notarized copy verifying. Okay. All right. So back to this. Make an account. Might cost $1,000 to open an account. Dental degree. You're going to have to send that. Notarized copy and translation. 2 documents there. Mark transcripts, translation. Mark transcripts original from the university. This is one of the hard parts. So you have to get your university to cooperate. Your university has to take the transcripts, put them in an envelope, seal it, send it directly to the NDEB. If it ends up coming to you, just do not open the sticker. Someone once told me they opened the sticker to check if the documents are inside. That's it. Now it's invalid. Okay? So this has to go directly from university to NDEB. So I'm going to talk about the confirmation degree because it's one of the most annoying steps, but just to give you guys shed some light on this. So confirmation degree, it's a paper that the NDEB gives you. It's 1 page usually. There's 2 halves, upper half and lower half. Okay, upper half and lower half. You fill up the upper half. So the upper half is filled by you. You send this to your university. Your university fills up the lower half. They put it in an envelope sealed, send it to the NDEB. Now, ideally, if you could have them also add the transcripts that you're supposed to send here into that envelope, that would be great, right? So you'll get it all done in one shipment. But that's how it works. Now, the problems that could happen here is that the university has to put the right information that could match your information and match your degree. And some universities don't even know how to do that. So that's where you might have to like cooperate with them and say, oh, like you're putting the wrong info. Problems could happen here. Hopefully, you know, it's not that complicated for university, but this is what the confirmation degree is. And, you know, everybody before you has figured it out. You'll figure it out. Okay, it's not impossible. Just don't make, you know, silly mistakes. I mean, can you electronically sign? Well, they have to get shipped to the university. So you could try, just ideally no, they will probably want a physical signature, but yeah. But if you put a, you know, a signature in writing, I mean, like if you do electronically sign, like why do that? Why take the risk? Just sign in and scan it, you know? Do you want to delay your process 6 months, you know? So, like do the thing that is going to make it less risky, right? Unless it's absolutely necessary. Yeah, you have to sign it, then scan it, I think. Yeah. Well, you want to sign it, send it to the NDEB. Oh, I see what you mean. Like can you electronically send it to them? Like, yeah, you can. I know some people that like they signed it, scanned it, then sent it, and then the other side printed it. Yeah. Like let's say you have a friend back home. They'll print it. You have to tell them to print it in color, so all looks like, you know, like you sign it, let's say in a blue pen, you scan it, and then you send it. They print it in color, so it comes out blue, like so it looks like someone actually signed it, at least, right? But I think it's fine, you know. Okay, so I'm not going to go into your questions right now. All that will be discussed later. Okay, but I want to finish these. Okay, so that's the confirmation degree. Now, so we said you're going to do all these steps, and then the NDEB, once you sent all these and they say received in your account, the NDEB, once they have all been received, the NDEB then will start reviewing them. And they say it could take up to 22 weeks or 5 to 6 months to get approval. So that's why you want to do everything right on your first time. Okay? So the question here is that we commonly get from people, should we start the AFK preparation even before the NDEB approval? And the most common answer is yes, because if you do get a seat, you need to be ready. You don't want to get a seat and not be ready and risk failing. That's way worse than taking a course a little bit earlier than you needed. Do you see what I mean? It's worse. Let's say you're like, no, I'm going to wait until approval. And let's assume the exam is in August and you get your approval in April. Now you want to start the course. You're already 1.5 months late after the course started. Right? So now you're risking not being ready for the exam. You're risking your first attempt. If you fail, you're going to lose 6 months at least, and might be even more because you might not find a seat next time. No, that is way worse than, hey, you know what? Start the course properly in March. And if you don't get approved, then we'll find another solution. Maybe you transfer to the next one. Maybe now at least you have the course and you could study it on your own when you have the books, and then you could come back for mocks only. Like there's a bunch of things you could do. So that's a better case than the first case I said, right? Where you get a seat and you haven't started preparing. Okay? So again, with a consultation, we try to go through your personalized plan. Okay, so go to the NDEB and create a profile. Okay, so you can find this under resources. They also have this, I think it's here, home equivalency process, how to apply required documents. You put your country here, and they'll tell you like what they could give you. I'm not sure if this is still on the website, but They have a book now where you could book a session with them, and they might help you as well in a consult. So once you send all your documents, it's going to be going through these, like not received, received, under review, and approved or rejected. And hopefully you get approved. Now, once you're approved, you could apply for the AFK exam and register your seat. Okay, so that's about the NDEB application. What are some important timeline and important dates to keep in mind? Make sure, it's good to know when all your documents were received, because you might want to kind of calculate 6 months from that as a maximum to be approved. Of course, you want to know the exam dates for the AFK. So the exam dates are usually in August and Feb of every year. So the AFK happens twice. Remember, we have an AFK orientation coming up. So for more details about the AFK specifics, sign up for that one. Okay. And if you feel like you want to learn pharmacology right now, you can come. You're welcome to come to the formal review. But mainly for you guys, what matters is the AFK orientation. So the exam dates happen in August and Feb, right? AFK exam registration opening date is very important. That's how you get your seat. Okay, seats may get booked really quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna draw you guys a timeline here to give and put it here on this chart so that you guys can see it. Actually, let me okay, this one again. Okay, so let's draw here a timeline. Oh no, what happened there? And let's say here you have the exam in Feb and the exam in August, right? Just give you guys a little summary. So this is the AFK exam. Now, the courses, I'm going to put them in blue. So what's the next? Okay, exam registration opening date. Let's go for that one first. So when do the exam registrations open? Usually, for the August exam, it'll open in March. So I'm going to put registration. And for the Feb, last time it was in September. This could change. It could be plus a month, or right. So this is when the registration usually is. It's a very important date to know, the registration opening date, not the deadline. Why? Because again, all seats get booked in the first hour of opening. So you need to be, we guide our students through this. You need to be on your computer, waiting half an hour before, maybe an hour. And there are some tips that you probably need. We'll give that to you as well. But once, you refresh, and then once the 10 a.m. hits, you see it, you register, you're in queue. There's some things you need to, not to mess up there. But it usually gets all booked up in the first hour. Now, it's good to know the closing date as well, because, a lot of people do withdraw, and then you might get a seat. So the closing date is closer to the exam, but it's fine. The opening date is more important. And then the next important thing is to know the course start dates. So, for example, for the August exam, our courses start somewhere in between Feb and March. So, course. And for the Feb exam, our courses start around August, September. So, this is another course. So, this is the essential course, which is 6 months, right? So you can see if the registration date is starting at the same time the course starts, and you don't get a seat, you could transfer. We allow that, but we actually recommend sticking the course, doing the course, because you might get a seat, and that way you took the whole course. You could review it on your own afterwards then, and when you do get a seat, you could come back for a review, right? So anyway, that's how the courses work. We do have the mastery course, which is usually 9 months before. So, for example, for the August exam, it starts in November, and for the Feb exam, it starts in May. Anyway, all this, you can see how there's a lot of dates, a lot of information. This is why planning your own timeline would be ideal. We create a timeline that's on a 3-year plan to show you each time when your exam that you're going to take, which course you're going to be taking, right? So, again, book a consult to get that done for yourself. Unless you're very early on, you're not planning to do the AFK in the next year. But if you're planning to do the AFK sometime in the next year, then let's get that 3-year plan set up for you so that you know how to, plan around it, right? So these are some important dates. And again, you can find a lot of information on our website and our YouTube channel as well. So explore our YouTube channel. You could go to Scholars Dental. You could explore that, and you'll find a lot of good information there. On our website, you'll find our course dates and other things. Please WhatsApp us. We're very easy to get in touch with. We have WhatsApp. Use WhatsApp the number. You'll have somebody from Monday to Friday that's on WhatsApp that could reply to you, talk to you, give you a phone call, give you some videos to watch, set up a plan, and book you a consult with one of the instructors or myself. Okay. So this is the final slide. Where to start after all of this? If you haven't done anything, open an account. Okay, let me use a different color here. Okay, so open an account. Get approved. Work on this. If you haven't started, do this, right? And plan your immigration. That's long term. You don't have to do this for AFK or ACJ, but plan it. Start taking those steps. Once this administrative stuff is kind of going and it's just you're reacting to it instead of initiating, like you're waiting for your approval, you're waiting for universities, you're waiting for something in immigration, like you're kind of waiting now, the ball is not in your court, you're kind of just taking steps reactionary, then you want to start preparing for your AFK. Like take that seriously. Prepare for the AFK that you think you will be taking. And that's where we could help. We have to predict which AFK do we think that is possible for you to take. Let's prepare for that one and have a plan A if it works out and a plan B if it doesn't work out that you take that AFK. And in the meantime, part of this administrative work that you have to do, open an ADA account so that you're set up to take the ADAT if your plans change. And that is it for our NDEB process orientation. Again, book a consultation to figure out when to begin your preparation for AFK. It's a free consult. It's actually very valuable, okay? Our team members are working, mainly this is their main task is to get in touch with you and make sure you're on the right path. Okay, everybody? So thank you for attending. And that is it for the NDEB orientation.